part how we can implement linked list in C++ language. So first of all, basically you can create elements, structure, and as well as the list. So inside element it has data you want to store, and you also have the next pointer, which is used to link from one element to another. And you have a list in order that you have a compact form for storing your information. In the list you need to have head and tail, and also end, which will be stored the number of elements in the list. So next step we do is to create a function which is used to initialize list. We call it create list. What it does is you reserve memory allocation for list, and next you initialize some set of variables. For example, n variable here should be 0 because there is no element in the list yet, and the variable head and tail, it must be nil because you don't have any element yet. And next you can insert beginning to the list. Simply create a function which takes two parameters. The first one is a list variable pointer, and the second one is the new data. So inside the body of this function, you can simply create a new element first. You reserve location memory, and then you assign the new data into that location. And next you need to do is to update the pointer of either head or tail. So now you're trying to insert beginnings. Firstly, you can update the next of this new element. It's now point to head. Make a connection from this new element to the current head of the list. And next you update now this new element become the head of the list because you have added it to the beginning. And next step is to check whether we need to update tail or not. In case that there is no element in the list yet, of course we need to tell that okay, this new element now is also a list. So this is done by this line of code. We check if there is any element in the list. If no, okay, we tell it that okay, E now is also a tail. So finally, what we do is to increment the value of n because new element has been added. In order to display the list, you can create a function which take a list variable. So as I have discussed earlier, we create a temporary variable, and next we make it point to the head of the list, and then we can loop through any element in the list, and the condition should be not equal to nil because we know that the last element of the list point to nil. So here how we can access to data, TMP data here. What important in this function is this one. You need to move each time you loop through the list. You move one element to another, and then until the end one, right? So your loop will keep running in case that the pointer is still pointing to the element, not nil. So here you say TMP equal to TMP next in order to move from one element to another. So finally, it will reach the nil variables. So I think that's it for all of this function, and then that you can work with linked list. And to use this in main function, okay, so you simply create a list variable and then you call to the function. It will initialize you all necessary variables like n, head, and tail, which point to nils. And next you add 3 elements one by one. The first one is you insert number 3 to beginning of the list. Second, you insert number 2 into the list. It means you go insert into the the beginning of the list. It means you have 3, and next you insert 2, you have 2 and 3, and then you insert 5, you have 5, 2, and 3. So after that, you can call to your function to display the list. In this case, you display it 3 times. Okay. And lastly, we can also access to how many elements now inside the list. We can it can be done by accessing to the n variables. Okay, I think that's it for the today lecture. Just summarize a little bit here. In order to create a linked list and store information, we need to create a data structure. First one is element. It must consist of data, what data we want. If you have variable, just create it there. And we need a pointer which point to another element. So this is the main operation in linked list, which is used to link. You must have a pointer, and you have list variable in order that you can contain your head. Where is the head of the list? Where is the tail of the end variable? So now you combine them together to call a list. And next, you can create a function so that you can reduce it many times. You initialize a list, you insert a certain element into the beginning of the list, and you can also create a function to display a list as well. So this can be done using function. All of these functions are created. You can call it many times. So this can be a complicated work to do, but once this is done, you can simply